Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating equality, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
A driving force for the future, sales of electric cars in the U.S. are breaking records, and experts say it's just the beginning.
Folks should fasten their seatbelts because this electric future is taking off.
The EV transition is underway.
According to Cox Automotive, U.S. consumers bought nearly 300,000 new battery electric vehicles in the second quarter of 2023, setting a record. That's more than 48% higher than the same time last year, and more EVs than were sold in all of 2019. Cox Automotive predicts sales of fully electric vehicles in the U.S. will break 1 million vehicles in 2023 for the first time.
We're starting to see those electric vehicle sales numbers grow already. So we anticipate that all of this will line up.
So what's driving sales? Experts say several factors, like price cuts, a wider variety of available vehicles, and more government and manufacturing investments, plus tax credits. Experts say the EPA's proposed auto emission rules could help electric vehicles account for up to 2/3 of new vehicles sold in the U.S. by 2032.
These rules are really, meant to help push the auto industry, provide some of that certainty so we can get the investments in manufacturing and infrastructure that'll help build out, the supply of those vehicles.
If you're in the market for an electric car, remember that through the Inflation Reduction Act, the federal government is now offering tax credits of up to $7,500 on some EVs. And Cox Automotive says this year's top-selling EVs are all among the 18% that qualify for at least some of that tax credit. For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
Applause and cheers inside India's Mission Control Center and across the country as Chandrayaan-3, India's mooncraft, made a soft landing on the lunar surface.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
India is only the 4th country to do so, and the first to do it on the moon's unexplored South Pole. Prime Minister Narendra Modi watched the landing virtually while on an official trip to South Africa.
ये क्षण अभूतपूर्व है.
This moment is unprecedented. This moment is of developed India's victory. This moment is of new India's victory cry.
Back home, millions of Indians watched in awe as Chandrayaan-3's rover touched down on the moon's surface. Many here feeling intense national pride.
Very excited, and it was a very great moment to witness it.
We have done it, so it's very inspiring as well.
Moon mission.
India's successful lunar landing comes just days after Russia's failed attempt to land a spacecraft on the moon. Many countries are planning human missions to the lunar surface, triggering a space race. For India, the journey to the moon has been long and challenging. In 2019, 11 years after its first moon mission, its second spacecraft, Chandrayaan-2, crashed into the lunar surface while making its final descent.
Liftoff normal.
Now, 4 years later, its third moon rocket, Chandrayaan-3, will conduct scientific experiments and help detect resources hidden in the moon's dark craters.
It will be playing a key role in hunting for water ice around the lunar South Pole. That water ice is important for establishing and sustaining a human presence on the lunar surface. That water ice is also important for enabling the moon to become a launching pad for spacecraft.
The success of this mission has blazed the trail for India's space ambitions. They include a manned mission to space and setting up its own space station by 2030.
Ultimately, it sets the ground for India establishing its own astronaut corps that would then see Indian astronauts standing on the lunar surface alongside its partners, including the United States, Japan, Australia.
But for now, India is celebrating this historic feat, one that has clearly established it as a global space power.
Like the Advocate channel on Facebook for the best way to get updated stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
You may want to dust off those masks and keep them close by. That's because COVID-19 hospitalizations are on the rise.
We're at this inflection point. Numbers have been going up. Weather's going to get cooler and drier. They're probably going to go up a little bit more.
CDC data shows COVID-19 hospitalizations have been increasing since early July. But over 5 weeks, those numbers have nearly doubled to 13,000 new admissions. Earlier this year, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention stopped counting new COVID case numbers and instead relied on hospitalization numbers. That's why some health experts are now recommending people in high-risk categories mask up. There is some good news, though.
Most of the country is considered low risk.
But for people in the yellow or orange areas, the CDC recommends masking for those at higher risk, especially if you're elderly or immunocompromised. Health officials also recommend testing before seeing someone who is high risk, and wear a mask indoors if you're with someone who has a greater risk of catching the virus.
I recently visited my parents, for example, in Florida. I wore a mask. I tested ahead of time, try and keep them safe.
If you're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms or have been exposed, it's important to test twice.
Sometimes people get that first test, think they're in the clear. That may not be the case.
And if you do test positive, the CDC recommends staying home for at least 5 days because that's likely when you're most contagious. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. We're now at our number 1 story of the day. Take a look.
It has been a flurry of activity here at the Fulton County Jail ahead of that Friday noon deadline set by the District Attorney Fani Willis for Donald Trump and his co-defendants to turn themselves in. Today, former President Trump will arrive here for booking and processing.
They were among the staunchest advocates for former President Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. And on Wednesday, former Trump lawyers Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, and Rudy Giuliani were among those who surrendered at the Fulton County Jail on charges related to the Georgia election subversion case.
This is an attack on the American people. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you.
Today, the former president will turn himself in. Trump's attorneys have already negotiated a $200,000 bond and other terms of his release, including an explicit order to not use social media to target any co-defendants or witnesses or to communicate with them. In an interview with Tucker Carlson that aired on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, Wednesday night, Trump railed against the Georgia charges.
The people see it's a fraud. The people see it, like this horrible district attorney. She said basically I don't have any right to challenge an election.
The interview, designed to counter-program the first Republican presidential debate of the 2024 campaign cycle, which Trump opted to skip. Some of his rivals saying the former president's 4 state and federal indictments are a distraction and disqualifying.
Now, whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
And former President Trump is not expected to arrive here until much later today into the evening. Law enforcement officials worked with Trump's team to try to find timing that would be least disruptive to the city of Atlanta with the former president's movements. Trump now faces 91 charges across 4 separate criminal cases. In Atlanta, I'm Karen Kafa.
Thanks for watching the Advocate channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.